Billy. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I am so excited because hopefully we're going to help people, which is what we're
Yeah,
all about.
for sure. I'm really excited to have you here. We're going to talk today about just foundations that many fertility coaches might not have thought of and that I think are really important, talking about vision and purpose and identity and finances and all the
Yeah,
things. So I'm excited to jump into it.
me too.
Cool. Well, let's just start with your story. How'd you get into this work? What inspired you to create your business?
That's a good question. It was 2010, and at that point, I had it all. I was newly married to the woman of my dreams. I had the clients. I had the business. We had the house and the white picket fence.
Hmm.
Yeah, actually, we kind of did have a white picket fence. But yeah, things were good. It was early in the morning on this particular day, and it was one of those days. It was kind of rare where those. I'm sure people can relate where there's not a ton of downtime nowadays, but we had a few spare moments, and it was just my wife and I. We're sitting on the couch, good cup of coffee, and we're just excited about life. We're talking about our plans and our goals, and we're looking into each other's eyes. And at one point, I looked at her and I said, "Everything I need is right here with me on this couch." No, I didn't say that, but it was a special moment. And boom, 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 the knock at the door. It's like 7 in the morning, if that. I walk down the steps, open the door, and look up, and there's this large man standing on my stoop. He says, "I'm taking your car for delinquent payments." And he hands me a notice. "Man, please, unhook the car. I don't know what's happening here, but I got to get to work. My wife's inside. I don't know how this happened. I'm really sorry. I have some money. I'll cover it." "No, man. Sorry about that. I wish I could. I hear this all the time. I'm taking your car." And now I'm standing looking into the street as he hooks up my car and takes it away.
Mm.
And I'm like, what am I going to do? That was the origin story of how I got to do what I do now. I know we're going to talk more about this, but I realized that the consequences of not handling things in a certain way can lead to devastating consequences. And yeah, that's what I'm passionate about is hopefully helping prevent that from happening to people. And they don't have to. That's the thing I share when I do my talks is like you don't have to hit that moment to make some
Mm.
changes. And we all have room to grow. I don't care if
Sure.
you're crushing it. There's still room to grow.
Sure. And I know many people listening to this can relate because I know that, a lot of our audience has that rock bottom, maybe not that rock bottom, but they have a similar story where it's driven them to think about what is my vision? What is my purpose for even doing this work? And so I
Yeah.
know people can relate to that. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm assuming you came out on the other side bigger and better and you're not
Yes.
currently still there. And so that's why we're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah. I
this.
mean, yeah. So actually, I'll share a little bit about the results.
Yeah.
So, I know you're going to ask about some tips for people and stuff like that. And we have a
Mm.
gift, so hopefully that will help anybody who's. Again, I just encourage anybody that don't fall for the mistake that you have to, like you said, be at that point to get better. I mean, again,
Mm.
there's always I'm still growing in all areas, but a little bit about my results. So from that point. We discovered that we had $130,000 in non-mortgage debt at that point, and thankfully, we paid every cent of that off. And it took us 5 years, and I did
Wow.
that through my business, almost solely through the business.
Mhm.
There's a couple little side hustle things, but most of it was through the business. Just, I know we didn't really mention this, but I was in the health business as well.
Mhm.
And then for fast forward like another 6 or 7 years, so it would have been like 13 years total. We paid off all of our debt for a total of $500,000.
Wow.
So yeah, and I
Amazing.
share that hopefully to encourage people because I was just on I know you and I were talking a little bit before hitting record of
Mm.
we were both doing some other calls and things like that. I was talking with a business owner who is in a similar position that I was in, and I think it's really cool that I can now use that story
Mm.
and help others, and she can be encouraged knowing that I'm not special. I didn't even have I do share this as well. I did well, don't get me wrong, but I didn't have like an exorbitant level of income or anything like that. I wasn't making
Mm.
millions of dollars. So you don't need to. That's another sort of myth or lie when it comes to finance. You have to make a ton of money. You have to make millions of dollars in order to be successful financially. In fact, it's often the opposite,
Mm.
which is very interesting. But yeah, I was talking with her, and my heart went out to her because I know what that's like. And this
Mm.
mountain of debt. You're looking at this mountain of debt, and you're like, "How am I going to get? How am I going to get to the other side of this?" And there is hope. There is a way and a path forward.
Sure, sure. And a lot of people listening to this show are thinking of pursuing a career as a fertility coach, or they're already
Mhm.
working in wellness and maybe feel called towards fertility. And I know that finance is a big piece of that. I talk to a lot of people who are thinking about starting their business and wondering, like, how do I even have the money to do that? And so I know we're going to kind of dive into some strategies
Mhm.
around the finance piece. But even before that, I want to talk about the vision piece because I know you
Yeah.
talk about this a lot. So,
Mhm.
how do we really have a vision for what we want to create? Why is that so important to have a vision before you ever even start looking at starting a business?
Yeah, another good question. Well, I'll say when I started, like a lot of people, I just wanted to get stuff done. I
Mhm.
want to get out to the marketplace. I want to make it happen and shake it up. So you just start doing a bunch of things, and that actually works to a certain extent because yeah, hard work generally does produce results. I was working hard. I was getting results. I was even starting to make some real money. But one day I came into my business and I looked around and I did not like what I saw. I can share the specifics, but the point is, it wasn't the vision that I had. It might have been good on paper, it looked good financially, maybe other people would have wanted what I had,
Mhm.
but it wasn't really what I wanted. So, for that reason, I do talk a lot about vision. Vision essentially is maybe sounds really out there, and at some level it is, but really it's just where are we going? That's the question. Like if you take nothing away from this interview, it's thinking about where am I going? You and I mean, you more than me. Full disclosure, you did some really good prep for our conversation, and you could see the level of that planning. And it's like, where are we trying to go with this? What are we trying to get done? Like, we're not just wasting our time. One of my friends, clients, mentors, he says, we only go, what does he say? We only go around the merry-go-round once, and we want to make it count. So where are we going? How is it going to end?
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong, but how do you want that? So that's really what vision is where are we going?
Mm.
And I like to encourage people just to give you really practical things. You can take notes as I'm talking here, and I encourage you to do that and answer these questions. And let's start with the personal, because too many people, they put their business first, they prioritize their
Mhm.
business, and they get it backwards because the business, yes, we have a passion and we have a purpose and we want to help people and change the world, and that's all awesome. But at the end of the day, we have to put our own mask on first, to use a cliche.
Mm.
We have to think about ourselves, our family, our future. So many they do it backwards, and it gets harder and harder and harder
Mm.
because now you're in it, and it's hard to pull yourself out, and you've created this monster
Mm.
that you thought would be so great, and it's anything but. So think about the four areas. Number one is income. Looking
Mm.
at your personal life and situation, and how much do you want to make? Like,
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many people start their business and they never even think about that. How much money, first off, do you need to make? based on your responsibilities.
Mhm.
It can be different for everybody. Some people, there's more than one earner. Some people live in a high cost, low cost. I mean, there's tons of different factors, but figuring out what do you need to make and then what do you want to make because those might be different numbers.
Yeah.
I need to make X to cover the things that I'm doing, but I want to also do some of these other things. I want to
Mhm.
build for the future and lots of other ideas. But income, start there. Then lifestyle, big one for business owners. This is another thing I was just talking with that same client about is what do you want your lifestyle to be like?
Mhm.
Everything. Like the ideal day, you might have heard that before.
Mhm.
When are you waking up? When are you going to bed? What are you doing in the middle of the day? Where are you going? What's it like when you get there? Like all those kinds of things. Like what is your lifestyle like? This is going to relate to the next one, which is family.
Mhm.
Are you home for dinner? I was at a conference this past weekend, as you know, I shared that with you, and I saw somebody had a shirt. It said something like, make an impact, make a profit, and make it home for dinner. I just thought that was really cool.
That's cute.
It's thinking about the family, and that could
Mhm.
be vacations. It could be activities you're doing together with your family. Maybe you're single, that's fine. Like we all have a family to a certain extent. And the last one is contribution, very much put off by most.
Mhm.
I am very sad to say that, and I work with successful people,
Mhm.
very few are prioritizing their contribution because we're just so caught up with all of our own stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, you're contributing with your business, yes, but think through what kind of difference do you really want to make in your community. It doesn't have to be financial. It could be with your time, with your gifts, with other resources that you have. We know this because I'm in the financial world. We know that any study that looks at happiness,
Mhm.
money doesn't do it. Never does. And we all fall for that trap. But the happiest people are the ones that they're contributing, they're giving, they're generous. And coincidentally, they end up making more money. And that's like a byproduct. So that's where I would start with vision. And then we also have the business, which is, we can go off and running into that as well. But yeah, thinking about the different areas of your business and same idea. How do you want those to look? How do you want your sales and your marketing process to look? How do you want, if you're going to have a team, who are you hiring
Mhm.
and what types, in what order? We can talk about that. But thinking about your systems, your client journey, the
Mhm.
life cycle of your client. They reach out to you for the very first time. What happens? Book an
Mhm.
appointment. What happens then? You and I book this podcast, and I'm getting emails, and I'm getting systems, and there's a lot of work that's been put behind that. It's the same thing for our business.
Mhm.
How do we want that to look? And I know we're going to talk a little bit about values as well, but that would
Mhm.
come into play for sure.
I love all of that. And these are all things that I do teach inside my fertility coach certification program. But I'm listening to you talk, and I talk a lot about creating the life that you want before it ever even happens. And
Yeah.
so just listening to you writing down how much money do you want to make? What does your lifestyle need to look like? What is your family and your contribution? All of those things, you can create the energy of that before it even becomes reality. And then that's going to just make that tidal wave of reality almost come to
Yeah.
fruition. So I love that. And we get woo woo on this show. So don't feel like you can't get woo woo around here.
Well, 100%. I would even argue that you almost have to do it that way
Yeah.
because I know we're going to talk about that as well. Because I think you're big on mindset, and
Yes.
I'm going to have you on my show, and I'm also big on on that where you have to see it.
Mm.
You have to believe it, and we're going to talk about that on the mindset piece. But to your point, you have to set those intentions. You have to decide. It's like that quote, right? Most people decide, they end up right about where they decide to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like the average person, they're just never thinking about these things. So what happens? Just whatever,
Right. They get
rather
more of what
than,
they've always had,
yeah,
not
yeah.
what they want. Yeah.
Hmm.
I love that. And so let's talk about values too, because I want to lead into that. I know you talk a lot about values and we've talked about
Yeah.
vision, but talk about if your values and your business are not aligning, how that's just going to create conflict. We have to
Yeah,
have those two things have to be in line for us to, be successful.
they do. They work really well together because your vision is where you're going and your values are how you're going to behave to get there.
Hmm.
And some of these words can be overwhelming for people, especially if they're newer to the business. But really, value, what is it? It's like what's important to you. People ask me, well, I don't know. Like, how do I know what my values are? There's lots of great resources. I can share some, but ultimately, it's what is really important to you. I like the core idea, the core value. It's
Hmm.
who I am to the core. It's not necessarily what Pat Lencioni calls a pay to play value. That would be
Hmm.
something that anybody would need to be successful. Like, I'll just give you like a kind of like a probably a terrible example, but we're really nice to our customers.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, like, are you going to be successful and be rude to your customers, right? It's not really like a core value, something that's different about you, but it's like really what drives you, what makes you tick.
Hmm.
And as you're thinking through that, one of the best ways I have found to think through that is to ask yourself, what really, excuse my language, but what really pisses you off
Hmm.
in other businesses? What do you really hate? Like, what are you willing to
Hmm.
actually get into it over? Because like the hill that you'll die on. Uh,
Yeah.
that's usually the opposite, right? Whatever that
Hmm.
thing is, I hate when I go to the doctor and I'm treated just like I'm nobody, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm not even a person. It's like it's like I have no soul, right? They're just like treating me like I'm just another number, So I hate that, right? And it is true for me, but it was just an example. So my core value might be connection. I
Hmm.
really value, and that is true for me. Like I really value that deep connection. So therefore, I'm not going to create a business that doesn't incorporate a deep level of connection. I am going to create a business that thinks about that every step of the way. When I'm
Hmm.
designing my client life cycle journey, how are they feeling connected at this point in the journey? What if they
Hmm.
tell me they're no longer working with me? How do I want to
Yeah.
show up in that scenario based on that value? Am I just going to ignore their notice, or am I going to say, you know what? We're going to miss you, and I really thank you. Really appreciate the time that you worked with us. It's meant a lot to me, and I really value you, and I wish you the best. And little things like that
Hmm.
change everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think values are very underrated, underutilized,
Hmm.
and people think, oh, I just naturally like do that kind of stuff. Maybe when you're really small, but as you grow, and
Hmm.
other people are getting involved, more clients, and maybe other people helping you on the service and delivery side.
Hmm.
It's really important that those things are documented, they're communicated, and they're lived by.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. And I think it's important to have a list of values for how you show up in the world, but
Mhm.
also for your business and write that down, especially as you're getting started new, because sometimes, like you said, you start and you're just doing all these things and then it's like the snowball rolling down a hill, but you
Yeah.
have to stop and really get these core pieces in place before you grow so big that you never do it. And then you're running a business with no values.
Yeah, and to that point, if you don't do it early, then you're not going to really think about the
Mhm.
clients or customers you're working with, because that will inform, you know what, I don't think this is the best fit for us. Nothing personal, just, and it might be based on your value. Maybe they
Mm.
just don't align with you, and that's okay. That's the cool thing. You get to
Yeah,
choose. Or maybe
exactly. And
it's,
I've
yeah.
Yeah, I've had to let a few clients go myself,
Hmm.
and it's never an easy conversation, but it's good
No.
for both of us, and it
Hmm.
keeps your sanity. So I think having that in place in the beginning is really, really important. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you talk a lot about mindset, as I do as well, but let's talk about that piece because, especially for new coaches that are just getting started, especially as a fertility coach, I hear imposter syndrome a lot. Like, who am I
Hmm.
to teach this? I don't know enough. I'm not enough. Talk to us about that piece. How do you coach around imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Yeah, this is exciting to me because it's such a thing, right? We all
Yeah.
deal with this, I think, if we're honest. And I think I want to share a story. This was going back about 10 years ago. I was at a business conference. I had gotten there the day before, and it was early in the day, and I was living in New York at the time. This was in sunny California, beautiful California day. I'm at a coffee shop in the outside patio area, sitting there. I have a cup of coffee and a delicious book, just relaxing. Phone rings. On the other end is the receptionist of the doctor that I had just gone to, and she says, "Mr. Hofacker, I'm calling you regarding your recent visit and your blood work, and we need to talk to you about that. So we need you to come in as soon as
Mm.
possible." I said, I'm away right now, and I'm going to be about a week before I can get back and do that. Okay, no problem. Just as soon as you can, please. We need to have you come in. Okay, thanks. Get back. I open my book up, and it hits me. I've never had that call before where the doctor needs to see me. Thankfully.
Mm.
Wait a second. I'm going to be away for a week. What is this about? I call right back and say, hey, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to be away for the week, and I just feel like I need to know what this is about.
Mm.
She says, we really need you to come in, but hold on a second. Doctor gets on the phone
Mm.
and he says, Mr. Hofacker, I'm sorry to inform you, but you have diabetes.
Mm.
Diabetes? How could this be? I've never heard anything like this. I've always been super healthy. He said, yeah, it's true, and it's actually pretty bad. We need to get you on medication. I'm wondering if I could call it into California and we can work that. I said, listen, this is a lot. I said, I'm just shocked. I said, I'm gonna have to call you back. I hang up, I do the only thing I could think to do, and I call my mommy and start crying. Like, how could this be? I've always taken such good care of myself. I then call my sister, who's a medical professional, and
Mm.
she says, this is kind of rare, but things happen. And I've seen crazy things happen. And based on the numbers that he gave, she said, yeah, it seems like it might be the case. I go through the whole process. I grieve. I finally find acceptance. I'm going to deal with this. I find myself adjusting things. I really clean up my diet because I'm getting tired very easily. I find that I have to scale back my workouts. I'm still working out, but I'm lowering the intensity because I just don't have the energy. And I even decided I was growing my business at the time and decided that I was going to cut back and just I don't want to I can't handle too much stress at this point.
Mm.
Sure enough, I get back from the trip, I schedule my appointment, and I'm going to get my treatment plan now.
Mm.
I'm sitting in the doctor's office, and on the TV, the news is playing. It's a young man, 29 years old. He has terminal brain cancer. And he's giving an interview. He's got a wife and a young child. He says, I just want to leave a legacy with them. And I just hope that I've instilled the values in them that I needed to. And so I say a prayer. I say, God, thank you that this is not worse for me.
Mm.
Mr. Hofacker, the doctor will see you. I go in, doctor standing there. He's got a clipboard with a bunch of papers. He's fumbling through, and he says, I'll be right back. I said, hey, doc, what's going on here? I don't know, something about a mistake. He says, I'll be right back. Walks out of the room, and I pray again. Walks back in. Mr. Hofacker, I have to apologize profusely, but you do not have diabetes.
Oh my God.
We mixed up your blood work
Oh.
with another patient's. I didn't know if I wanted to give this guy a big hug or I wanted to punch him right in the mouth
Oh,
because
right.
he just for the last week made me think I had a disease that I did not have.
Oh my gosh.
And the reason why I share that is because I felt sick.
Mm.
I felt tired. I would actually get dizzy at times if I felt like I was
Mm.
overexerting myself. Nothing was wrong with me physically.
Mm.
I believed I had this disease, therefore I felt like I
Mhm.
had it. And we do the same thing with our finances. We do the same thing with our business. we have these beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
I am not good with business. I'm not good with money. I don't have what it takes. I'm too young. I'm too old. It's too much work. I can't do it. And also have a life that has balance. I mean, you could just fill in the blank with tons of these that we all deal with. I don't know enough. I don't have the right certifications. I'm not a salesperson. I mean, again, we can go on and on. And until we address that, that's what I said at the beginning, is that we think that we believe something when we see it, but science has actually shown the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
We believe something and then we see it, and you know that because you've done the whole thing where when you got a new car, you started seeing them everywhere, but you never
Mm-hmm.
saw them before. When you believe it, you will see it. When you believe that you are
Mm-hmm.
capable, you'll see that you are. When you believe that you can learn sales, you'll see that you can. When you believe that you can develop systems, create wealth, have a happy life, all those things, then you'll see that it's possible.
I love
But
that.
you asked me how to do that. So if I'm not jumping ahead, I'll share that.
Yeah, that'd
And
be
there's
great.
yeah,
Yeah, and I'm yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I was going to add I see that a lot with the fertility patients that I work with and clients. They believe that they
Hmm.
have infertility and then they create that they are their diagnosis and then that affects their ability to get pregnant. And so the coaches listening to this show, I want you to realize that we talk a lot about mindset and beliefs, and these beliefs are just not true, and we can work around
Hmm.
them. So I love that you say
Yeah,
that, and it's so powerful. Yeah. So give us
yeah,
your tips. Tell us how we
yeah.
we, we
All
work
right.
through this.
Yeah, so there's going to be 4 questions, and you can do this right now. I guess you can pause it, you can go back to it later, but you're going to, writing it is better. You can do it in your mind, but writing it is better. So the first question, after you write down your belief, is is it true? Is it true? So let's make up an example. Can you give me an example that somebody might have, and we'll go through. What's a belief that they might have, and we're going to start challenging.
Let's see. I don't know enough to coach somebody through fertility.
Perfect. That's a really good one because we all deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, is it true? And here's the kicker with that one.
Mm.
They might say it is true. I've only been doing this a year, right? And I'm not going to say that you're crazy. It's understandable why you would think that. Okay, wait till the next question, right? The next question is, am I certain that that's true?
Mm.
And I think if we're honest to this person that we're imagining, you would have to say that you are not certain that it's true, that you don't know enough, because know enough is just a relative thing. It doesn't even mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that if you know a little bit more than the person you're helping, then you
Mm-hmm.
probably know enough to help them. And even if you didn't, there's reason to believe that you could still help them, right? So we
Uh-huh.
can, yeah, we can shoot the arguments, but the point is that just creates a little seed of doubt in that belief to get you moving in the other
Mm-hmm.
direction. So the third question is, with that current belief, what actions am I taking or not taking because of that?
Mm-hmm.
So now what you're doing is you're acknowledging that belief, even if you thought it was true, is not helping you. It's not useful to you. I don't know enough to coach somebody in this area. So what does that do? Well, I'm probably not learning what I need to learn to get better. I'm probably not sharing with somebody. I'll make you feel guilty in a healthy way. You're holding back the gift that you have to change somebody's life
Mm-hmm.
because you're telling yourself something that isn't useful.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know that you don't know enough. Now that person may suffer without the knowledge that you can help them with, and the coaching and the support.
Mm-hmm.
And the final one is, who would I be without that belief?
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets powerful because you start
Mm-hmm.
realizing, who would I be if my belief was either, how about just the straight opposite? I do know enough
Mm-hmm.
to coach clients with infertility. What then what does that do? What kind of person are you then? Because
Yeah.
that's going to make all the difference because we know
Mm-hmm.
that goals are great. And I talk a lot about goals, but it's really the identity that gets
Mm-hmm.
created through the beliefs, which then create the actions or the habits that give you the identity. And when you start waking up in the morning and you say, I do know enough to help all the people I need to, your whole life will change. And it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't just to encourage you and keep you grounded. It's okay that this is not happening yet. It is a process
Mm-hmm.
because maybe there's been a lot of things that have caused those beliefs, and it's like anything else. Like, what other skill have you learned?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you lost some weight, or maybe you developed a relationship with somebody, or maybe you learned a language, whatever it is. It took work, it took time,
Yeah.
and your beliefs. I think that's probably a big mistake and a big issue for people is that they're not spending enough time on the mindset piece,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just kind of spinning their wheels, and that's why so many people they maybe find a little success and they go back and then they find a little bit and they go back and they just never find that path that they're really looking for.
Sure. I love those. I think all of those are super valuable and powerful. And I talk a lot about becoming. Who is that person you're becoming as you're
Yeah.
stepping into this new version of yourself? I call it becoming her, but it
Hmm.
just plays right into with what you said. You know, you really have to wake up every day and think that belief of who you want to be and who you know that you
Yeah.
are and become that person. And it is, it's a
What
process. Mm,
it is, and what I love about that is by becoming, you can't argue that,
mm,
right? Because even if you thought you weren't there now, you can't argue who you're becoming, right? That's like the whole was it growth versus fixed mindset? The
yeah.
fixed mindset says, I don't know enough to be a fertility coach, but the growth mindset says,
Mm.
I'm becoming the type of fertility coach that is able to change lives or whatever it is.
Exactly, exactly. I love that. Oh my goodness, we could just go on and on for days, but we do have to take a short break. So we're going to do that now. We're going to come back and we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about financial rhythms and the finance piece because this is another block I see a lot of coaches have. I don't have money to start a business. I don't have money to grow my business. So let's talk about money. So don't leave us. We're going to be right back. Before we continue, I want to share a resource with you. If you're a beginner or somebody already working in the wellness space and you feel called to support fertility, but you're not quite sure how to turn that into a coaching offer or start a business, I have something that will help you. It's called my Fertility Coaching Roadmap. And in this guide, I teach you step by step how to take your journey with infertility and turn it into a purposeful business, how to integrate fertility coaching into your already established wellness practice, how to go virtual or start an online business, and how to attract aligned clients that get results. If you're ready for more clarity and more support, see the show notes and download a copy of this guide today. Now, let's get back to our episode. Hey, Billy, welcome back. Let's talk,
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk money. I said, alluded to it before we left, but let's talk about that. What are some of the money, kind of mindset shifts that you're teaching, your coaching clients?
I talk about financial rhythms, and the reason I do that is because we have a rhythm for anything else in our
Mm,
lives where we're trying to improve. If you have a good relationship, if you have a healthy relationship with your spouse or a friend, there's probably some kind of rhythm to that. My wife
mhm,
and I, we go on a date night every single Wednesday, and we're recording this on Wednesday, which means it's tonight. That's a rhythm. We do a lot of other things, and they're essentially they're rhythms. Not everything is
mhm,
a rhythm, but there's a lot of that. We do it with our workouts, our routines, our eating, all those kinds of things. And then with our finances, it's like,
mhm,
that'll figure itself out. Well, guess what? It won't
mhm,
figure itself out. You need to be intentional. You need to have rhythms, and just be sensitive for everyone's time. There's a bunch of these, and I know we're gonna share like how to learn more. But for now, I'll just talk about one of them that if you will embrace this one financial rhythm, you can't only embrace this one because the other ones are important.
mhm,
But if you do this one, you will be way ahead of the curve. You'll be ahead of so many people because so many people don't do this one. And I
mhm,
call it the forecasting rhythm. And what that means is you are going to predict in a conservative manner. You might think it's like budgeting, and there are some similarities. You're forecasting, you're predicting the revenue, the sales. So revenue and sales can be used
Mm,
interchangeably that are coming in. Pretty straightforward. I was just talking about this with another client earlier today. How much revenue is predicted this week?
mm,
Whatever that is. Okay, it's $1,000. Okay, that is going to be our revenue piece of that forecast. What expenses are due to be paid that week?
mm,
There's $1,200 expenses that are predicted. Okay, we may have a little problem there because there's a $200 negative, right? But maybe not, right? It does happen, and that's why it's good to do this, right? To get clarity. You might say, you know what, I have $2,000 in my account, so therefore it's fine. There'll be $800 left in that account. It's fine. I can't do that 5 times in a row
mm.
because then I'm what you know as out of business, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to run out of cash. But that's the whole point of that is that you're forecasting,
Mm,
you're predicting where you're going to be. There's a little more to it. I don't know
mm,
how in the weeds you want to get, but there are what's called P&L transactions, which are
mm,
expenses that would show up on your income statement or your P&L. And there are other cash movements that might not. Examples of those might be if you're allocating money for the future, like for quarterly tax payments,
mm,
or which you would need to account for. Maybe you're taking what's called an owner's draw or owner distribution. That might be
mhm,
another example. Maybe you have some debt on your business, and some of that money is going towards the principal of that debt. Those are examples of things that might not, in fact, they shouldn't be on your P&L, but they
mm,
will affect your cash. And for that reason, we want to make sure we're accounting for those in our forecast. So I don't want to overcomplicate it. So essentially, you're saying how much is expected to come in, and you're like, how do I know that? Well, you should have some kind of payment processor, or you have some kind of
mhm,
system where you're tracking that, and then how much is going out, both that are business expenses as well as those other transactions, and then what is the net result. And if cash is tight, which if it is, join the club. That's how it is for a lot of business, especially when they're starting out. This will make all the difference because you'll now be able to look out in front and see, okay, in the next 2 weeks, if we don't make any other changes, we might be in a little bit of trouble.
mm,
In the next 4 weeks, this might happen. And then what you can do is you can be, I'm being silly, but what's called proactive,
mm.
right? And
Right.
as you're listening to this, think to yourself, are most business owners proactive, especially when it comes to their cash?
Mm,
Spoiler alert, they're not.
mm,
Usually they're reactive. They're logging into the bank, they're looking at what's there, and they're making decisions based on, okay, I have some money in the bank, then I can do this or I can't do that. If they're forecasting, it's only in their head, and that's impossible to run a business in your head. It has to be on paper. So I
mm.
think the forecasting rhythm, if you would embrace that, would really save a lot of stress.
I love that. And it's so important. And we do teach a lot of this within my fertility coach certification program. But this is something that I had to learn as a new business
Hmm.
owner because it's not taught in, university or even in
Yeah.
most coaching programs. So I love that you broke that down. And I think you have a free gift for us too. As we start to wrap up, I'm pretty sure you have a free gift talking about this. Tell us a little bit more about
Yes.
that. And then tell us where can we find you and learn more about all of your wonderful work.
Sounds good. So go to the website, which is yourfitnessmoneycoach.com/resource. But I think we're also going to have a link in the show notes, and that'll
Yes.
give you access. I have the book on the bookshelf there. It's the ones that are standing up if you're watching the video. It's called Fitness Profits, and it outlines the steps of the journey that I took, as well as helping others go from being in debt to being financially free. But again, you don't have to be rock bottom to benefit from the book. There's lots of
Mm.
tips and strategies in there, business and personal. And then to reach out, just keep it simple. Just reach out to me on social media. It's just Billy Hofacker. Would love to hear any questions that you have or any feedback, and I would love to connect.
Amazing. And we will have all that in the show notes. So it'll make it really easy for everybody to find you and follow you and read your book and learn all your wonderful gifts. So thank you for saying that. And thank you for being here. Any final thoughts? What do you want to leave us with?
I think the key theme here has just been intention, just being intentional. So
Mm.
don't just it's like make it happen. Don't let it happen to you, but make it happen. You could have agency. You could make different decisions. You can make new decisions. You can decide to think bigger. You can decide to stretch out of your comfort zone a little bit. You can decide to be grateful, and all those things will culminate into you living your great, big, amazing, not perfect, but life, but a good life.
I love it. It's amazing. Well, thank you again for being here.
Yes, my pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you for everybody who's listening to this episode of Fertility Coaching Mastery. We're so grateful you're here and we hope you have a great week and we'll see you next time. So bye for now.